Hello, I'm going to go through the review with you, so if you have questions, just fast forward to the parts that you need, and hopefully this helps go through so you better understand what's going to be on the test. The test is going to be similar format, different numbers, different variables, so any questions that you have on this review, make sure you get those answered before we take the test. So for number one, it's going to ask us on the test to label the domain and the range, and then yes or no, is it a function or not. So domain is just our x values. So we're going to go through and list the first number in each of the coordinates. So 0, 4, 5, and 4. Now that 4 is a duplicate. If we want to write it more than once, we can. If you want to just write it once, then that's fine also. The range is then going to be our y's. So 2, 3, 5, and 7. Now, to tell if it is a function or not, we could graph these and do the vertical line test, but an easier way, if they give you coordinates, just to look to see if you have duplicate x values. So look at our domain, we have duplicate x's, so we're going to say no, it is not a function. So let's try the second one. Our domain, we're going to list our x's. Our range, we're going to list our y values. And then we're going to look just at our domain. It doesn't matter if we have duplicate y values, you're only looking at the domain. Do you have duplicate x's? And we do not, so we would say yes, it is a function. Now the next one is talking about function notation. If you do not like function notation, that f of x, I would right from the start just replace them with y's. Okay, and they're telling us what our x values equal, so we're going to substitute that right in for our x. So we're going to have y equals 7 times negative 2 plus 5. And then we need to solve for our y value. So we're going to simplify this down using order of operations. So we get negative 14 plus 5, which is negative 9. Now it says to write your answer as an ordered pair. You can leave your answer like this, or if you want to write it as an ordered pair, the x is negative 2, and then the y value is negative 9. So either format I will take. So let's try number 4. We're going to plug in 8 right in for our x. So we get, think top times top, bottom times bottom, 8 over 4, which reduces to 2, minus 6, we get negative 4. So our y equals negative 4. If you're going to write it as a coordinate, our x was 8 when our y is negative 4. All right, the next part, they want to know, for each function, determine whether y varies directly with x. If so, find the constant of variation and write the function rule. So our equation for direct variation is y equals kx. Now if I get that k by itself and I divide both sides by x, my constant is y divided by my x. So we're going to use that part and we're going to take our y values divided by our x values. And what they want us to answer, do they vary directly? So if we reduce these down, do we have the same constant of variation? So this one reduces to 4, this one reduces to 4, and this one reduces to 4. So since they all reduce down to the same number, we're going to say yes. Our constant of variation is 4, and then our equation is y equals 4 times x. So let's try the next one. We have 11 divided by 6, 14 divided by 9, and 20 divided by 15. Notice these do not reduce down to the same number, so we're going to put no. Since it is no, we cannot find the constant of variation or write our equation. So it is just no. For this next part, they want us to graph each equation. So there's two approaches we can do for this. We can get the y by itself, put it in slope-intercept form, and then use the slope and the y-intercept to graph it. And then the second approach we're going to take a look at is using the cover-up method. So solve for our x and y intercepts. So let's do the first method first and see which method you like better. So the first method, we're going to get that y by itself. These are not like terms, so we just write them next to each other. And then we're going to divide both sides by negative 3. Make sure you divide both of these numbers by -3, so we'd have a positive 4/3 x, and then a -2 divided by -3 is positive 2/3. Okay, so if we do this method, we look at our graph paper, we're going to have to go, our y-intercept is 2/3. So we're going to go between 0 and 1, closer to the 1. So that would be 2/3. And then our slope is 4/3. So from that point, we go up 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1, 2, 3. And then we have our 2 points, so then we can make our line from there. Okay. Now let's do the second method. So our second method is our cover-up method. So if we do our cover-up method, cover up our x, then cover up our y, we'll find our x and y intercepts. So if we cover up our y first, we're left with 4x equals -2. So then from there, we get divide by 4, x equals -2/4 or -1/2. Okay, then we cover up now our x value and we solve for our y. So then we're left with -3y equals -2. We go ahead and divide. So we get y equals positive 2/3. Now that's going to be, don't think of this as a coordinate, -1/2, 2/3, or you're going to be incorrect. You need to think of it, this is 1 point and this is 1 point. So it crosses the x-axis at -1/2. So right here at -1/2, it crosses that x-axis. And then it crosses the y-axis right at 2/3. So right between 0 and 2, cross that y-axis, and then we can continue with that line. Now let's do the same for number 8. We can do either method. We can get the x, do the cover-up method, cover up the x, solve for your y, and cover up your y, solve for your x. Or we can just get the y by itself. So if we do the first method, get the y by itself, minus y on both sides. So we have 3 plus x, equals -y. Now we need to get the y without the negative, so divide both sides by -1. So we have y equals -1x minus 3. So our y-intercept is -3, and our slope is going to be -1. So down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1. Now, if we don't like that method, we can do the cover-up method, or just plug in a 0 for the x and then plug in a 0 for your y. So even though it's not in standard form, that cover-up method is still going to work. So if we cover up our y to start with, we would have 3 plus x equals 0. And then we have to get the x by itself. So then we have to get x equals -3, so that would be our x-intercept. Now cover up our x, we get 3 plus y equals 0, and so y equals -3. So our x and our y-intercept on this one is -3. So if we take a look at our graph, if we graph it the first way, we start it down at -3, and then our slope is -1, so down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, and we get that line. If we do the second way, our x-intercept is -3, so on this x-axis it crosses at -3. The y-axis it crosses at -3, and then we would make our line through it. So either way, you're going to get the graph. Alrighty, for number 9, sorry, let me get my papers all formatted. It says, write in point slope form an equation of the line through each pair of points. So for this one, they give us 2 points. For point slope form, we need to know a point, so we can use either one of those, and then we need to know a slope. So we need to find the slope. So we can graph these and do rise over run, or the other way, we can just take the difference of our y's divided by the difference of our x's. So if we subtract our y values, -2 minus 8, and then 0 minus 5. We reduce that down, we get -10 divided by -5, which reduces to 2. So our slope we're going to be using is 2. Now I'm going to use this first coordinate, but you could use that second one, it does not matter. And we have to put it in point slope form. So it's going to be y minus our y number, which is 8, equals our slope, so 2, and then x minus our x value, which is 5. And we have our answer. They just want it in point slope form. They don't want it in slope intercept form or standard form. So we're going to leave it like this.